Good evening. So my name is Craig Addy, and I'm a musician, and I'm very passionate about being a musician. And this story is how I got to be that passionate. I called this story, I called it Passion, Pain, and Play. So let's start with the play. That's the fun part. I mean, I had like a miraculous childhood. I mean, how many kids get to grow up in a kindergarten? I grew up in a kindergarten because my mom ran a kindergarten in the basement of our house. And you know, kindergartens in those days, they only went in the morning, and then the place was free for the whole afternoon. So all through my childhood until I went to school, I had this amazing playground. It had Tinker Toys and Lego, and it had a library of books with like Curious George and Dr. Seuss. 4 painting easels all ready to go, big buckets of Play-Doh, you name it. I had everything you could imagine. But it didn't end there. You go outside, I didn't have 2 tricycles to play with. I had a fleet of tricycles to play with. And then beyond that, we literally lived in a forest. If you went up into the backyard, it was a forest with a tree house and a sandbox and swings. I mean, it was luxurious. And then, of course, there was music, too. We had 2 pianos in the house, one downstairs and one upstairs. And then later, my mom bought a grand piano. That'll become significant later. And so I just had this incredibly rich life as a child. Sounds perfect, doesn't it? Well, I'm a human being, so even if something's perfect, we'll make it not perfect, won't we? But there was this part about pain. So while I had that perfect life, some things about my childhood were not perfect. And one of those was, fitting in with groups. The team sports thing. Hockey was interesting. My parents gave me all those opportunities too. So they put me in hockey. I don't really remember hockey. It was a very short-lived career. But apparently my mom knew the coach, and she checked in with him. And his words were, well, Craig likes it when the puck goes into the net because then he can get it. I wasn't the goalie. And apparently, I really loved the costume. So they took me out of hockey, and they put me in soccer. And I stuck with the soccer longer, but I really liked being on the sidelines because I was afraid of the balls. I mean, it wasn't for me. And then there was Cub Scouts. So my first try at Cub Scouts didn't work too well. I liked the badges, but I didn't really want to do all the work to get the badges. And I guess that wasn't going well because they took me out and they put me into another Cubs. And that was a little bit better. So all that stuff, it wasn't great. I would rather go in the corner and paint. But then when high school came along, it got a little more serious. The specter of bullying arrived. So I'm all ready for high school. This is going to be great. There's all these like amazing new things, new teachers, new classes. And I can still remember right at the beginning of grade 8, I was in what's called English small group. And we were having a discussion. And for some reason in this small group, there were nothing but boys. And we were having this discussion, and I was really engaged. And I can remember, really asking questions and being self-expressed. And the class ended, and I went out into the hall, and I went over to have a drink of water, and I was leaning down having the drink of water. And I hear this voice sneering, "Oh, Craig's a fag." I didn't even know I was gay. I was gay, but I didn't even know I was gay yet. But that began this period of being bullied. And the thing about bullying I was never physically hurt. It was the threat of being physically hurt that was scary. The thing about bullying that's horrible is the humiliation and the embarrassment. I was just so embarrassed. So I didn't want anyone to know. I didn't tell my parents. And I lived with this. And I was dealing with, coming to terms with the fact that I was gay as well. So all this was on me, and I didn't want to tell anyone. And I was pretty miserable. Well, something happened at the same time. I was taking piano lessons. And up until then, I had loved music, and I was doing fine. But my piano teacher gave me a Chopin nocturne to learn. And that was the first piece of music I'd ever learned that had sadness and passion and all those emotions that I was dealing with in it. And that was a safe outlet for me to express all I was going through. And then I also discovered when I played that piece that people got the value of that for themselves. And so that was when my heart was really stolen by music. And so I went on to become a musician. And the thing is, it's no surprise that I become a very particular kind of musician. I'm particularly interested in the healing and nurturing powers of music, because that's what it did for me. Music really was my savior at a time that was really critical. And so it's no surprise that a lot of the music I play is very meditative and soothing. Not all of it, but a lot of it is. And so I have discovered ways of taking that pain and that play of my youth and the creativity that that fostered to be able to give that to people, to nurture and heal people. And I've discovered some funny ways to do that. One way is that people come and they crawl underneath my grand piano. Now, this is one of the things I did when I was a child. When my mom was playing the piano, I would crawl under the grand piano. It's the one I have now. And she would be playing beautiful Chopin and Schubert, and the vibrations of the piano would immerse, your body would be immersed in these vibrations. And it's like a massage with sound. And then, but like music is the language of emotion, so there's all that emotion that's happening at the same time. So, you know, about 10 years ago, I was in a piano store, just trying these amazing pianos, really expensive pianos. And I suddenly had a memory of being that child crawling under the piano. And the piano player who was playing this big 9-foot concert grand didn't know me. So I said, just keep playing, I'm going to crawl under the piano. And I did, and I was back in my childhood, and I could feel the vibrations going through my whole body. And I thought, there's something here. I don't know what. So I had some friends over a few days later to see what they thought. So they took turns getting under my piano, and I just improvised, because I love to improvise. And they're all kind of going, this is not like listening to a piano across the room. It's a whole new world. And one of them said casually, you should do that as a business. So for 10 years, that's what I've been doing. People come and they lie under my grand piano, and I give them this sound massage. And the thing that really, really is so fulfilling is that I've discovered that it really is a healing experience for people. So I've got to work with some people who are dealing with some pretty heavy stuff. I think one that really stands out is a couple, they had lost their baby. And so they wanted to do something in memory of their baby. So they came with the baby's ashes in a little box, and they got under my piano. And what I do is I recreate people. They share with me what they want to share with me, and I recreate them. I spontaneously compose in the moment. And I tell you, they said after they both, independently of each other, had the experience of their baby leaving and going to the other world in peace. So that's what I get to do now. And that's what I have. One of the things that I learned out of doing this story is that, you know, I thought if I could go back and get rid of that pain of the bullying, I don't think I would, because I wouldn't be getting to do what I do now if I hadn't gone through that. Can't say that for sure, but I think probably not. Thank you.